There are moments in life when something that has been silently aligning in the invisible finally crosses the threshold into the visible world. What has ripened in the realm of energy becomes inevitable in the realm of matter. This story begins at such a threshold, a long cycle of doubt, silence, and emotional suspension, one that felt endless, almost timeless, is quietly closing. The universe, in its own unfathomable way, has decided that the chapter of confusion is complete. What now unfolds on the path is not a coincidence, not a random emotional fluctuation, but the manifestation of a decision made at a level far beyond ordinary consciousness. It is destiny moving, the self, in Jungian terms, calling both souls back toward an agreement made long before the mind could interfere. Somewhere in this larger tapestry, there is a woman who once doubted everything that touched her heart. She hid behind logic, behind schedules and responsibilities, behind cleverly rational explanations about why certain connections were too complicated, impractical, or illogical. The outer story looked simple: distance, silence, choices that led away rather than toward. But beneath those choices, an ancient fear was moving: fear of intimacy, fear of being seen, fear of being unmasked as fragile or unworthy. In Jungian language, her shadow was full of abandoned parts of herself, and the connection with you threatened to illuminate them. So she retreated. She tried to close the door, and yet the door never truly closed. Even when her behavior suggested indifference, a quiet inner drama was unfolding. Your image, your energy continued to live within her inner world. Thoughts of you rose uninvited, in memories, in dreams, in fleeting associations that made no logical sense. No decision she made, no path she took, completely erased the starting point, the point that led back to you. This is the paradox of a true soul bond. While the conscious mind tries to categorize and control, the unconscious keeps circling around what is essential. She might have tried to replace, distract, rationalize, bury the feelings beneath work, other people, and endless activity, but the deeper layers of her psyche refused to forget. For a long time, she fought against this inner pull. She feared the depth of feeling, not because there was nothing there, but because there was too much. The magnitude of the blessing frightened her more than the possibility of loss. A pattern whispered that anything good would eventually be taken away, so it seemed safer to sabotage the connection before it could solidify. This was the defensive strategy of a wounded inner child, the part of her that had learned to expect abandonment or disappointment. She wore an armor of reason over a heart that had never truly been allowed to trust. When she withdrew, when she offered silence that you could not understand, it was not proof of indifference, but evidence of an internal war between her fear and her longing. Meanwhile, a different process was unfolding in you. Even without knowing the language of archetypes, your soul recognized this bond. You may have felt restless at first, haunted by questions, tempted to chase, to insist, to demand clarity from someone who could not yet give it. But over time, something began to shift inside you too. The obsessive need for answers slowly gave way to a different kind of awareness. The awareness that your worth did not depend on another person's readiness, and that your heart, no matter how deeply connected, was still your own sacred ground. This subtle evolution within you was not a side note, it was part of the same cosmic choreography. As her soul struggled with fear, yours was being guided toward emotional sovereignty, toward the realization that love is not meant to be begged for, nor is destiny meant to be forced. Now, the energetic alignment that remained hidden for so long has reached completion. On an invisible level, the universe has been rearranging inner structures in her, dissolving defenses that once seemed unshakable. Old wounds have been illuminated, karmic patterns exposed, and the narratives that kept her heart closed are losing their power. What once felt like rigid stone now begins to soften. The self, this higher organizing principle within her psyche, has begun to move decisively, insisting that she can no longer live split between fear and truth. Her soul is being turned back toward the connection it never really left. Not from a momentary impulse, not from loneliness, but from a growing certainty that what she feels for you is real, significant, and foundational. At the same time, a strange calm has begun to settle over you. Where there was once anxiety, there is now a quieter, steadier space. It feels as if some inner compass is gently whispering that something is moving in your favor, without requiring you to chase or prove anything. This calm is not fantasy, it is the felt sense of alignment, the intuitive knowing that the universe has taken over the part of the work that lies beyond human control. In Jungian terms, both of you are being pulled toward individuation, the process of becoming whole. For her, this means facing the fear that led her to run, acknowledging the shadow she projected onto love. For you, it means standing in your own worth, allowing love to be a gift rather than a rescue or a verdict on your value. The universe, or the deeper wisdom of life, does not move hastily. It has allowed all of this time, all of these cycles of distance and silence, not as punishment but as preparation. Only now, when her heart has begun to surrender to its own truth and your energy has stabilized into a quiet strength, does the alignment become complete enough to manifest. The next movement, the one that will soon cross from the invisible into the visible, is already set in motion. The feminine soul that once hid behind logic is beginning to walk toward her own destiny. And whether you realize it or not, your own growth has made you ready to meet her there, not as someone who waits in desperation, but as someone who stands in clarity. Something within her has begun to awaken with a force that can no longer be denied. It is not dramatic or sudden, not the kind of revelation that arrives like lightning, but rather a quiet certainty that grows stronger each day, like a tide rising beneath the surface. Her fear, once a towering structure, has started to crack. The old patterns of avoidance no longer protect her, they imprison her. And in that realization, a shift begins. Jung wrote that when a woman refuses the call of her deeper psyche, her life becomes ruled by symptoms: restlessness, confusion, dissatisfaction, the persistent feeling that something essential is missing. She lived in those symptoms for a long time. She tried to rearrange her outer world, thinking that control could silence the inner ache, but nothing worked. The soul, once awakened by truth, cannot return to sleep. Each withdrawal from you had been an attempt to return to an outdated identity, one shaped by wounds she never fully acknowledged. She had constructed herself around survival rather than fulfillment, around vigilance rather than vulnerability. To choose, you would have meant choosing a new version of herself, one who risked being seen, loved, and possibly hurt. And so she convinced herself she wasn't ready. The mind, terrified of transformation, always resists the heart's demands. But now her inner defenses are dissolving, not by force, but through illumination. What once felt overwhelming now feels inevitable. What once frightened her now calls to her with clarity. This is not merely emotional evolution, it is psychological integration. The shadow she rejected, the part of her that longed for connection, tenderness, truth, has stepped into awareness. She is beginning to realize that what she feared most was not losing you, but losing the illusion of control she had built around her heart. For the first time, she can see that her fear did not protect her, it isolated her. Her silence did not spare her pain, it magnified it, and beneath that realization lies a deeper truth. Running from love was running from herself. This inner breakdown is not a collapse but a breakthrough. The feminine psyche, long conditioned to be selfless yet fearful of desire, is reclaiming its rightful space within her. She is no longer willing to live divided between longing and self-protection. What rises within her now is the archetype of the inner sovereign, the woman who carries wisdom instead of fear, clarity instead of confusion. She is beginning to understand that love is not a threat but a mirror, and that what she saw reflected in you was not danger but possibility. Meanwhile, you are undergoing your own transformation. You are no longer the version of yourself who once waited anxiously for her acknowledgement or validation. Your journey has been one of reclaiming worth, learning to trust your intuition rather than your insecurities. You have learned the art of emotional detachment, not coldness, but the powerful ability to remain centered even when someone else is in turmoil. This is the empowered feminine or masculine within you, rising, capable of love without losing identity. The calm you feel is not resignation, it is mastery. It is the realization that love offered freely holds more power than love chased. This shift in you has created the energetic opening through which she can now return. When the psyche senses unconditional acceptance, acceptance without clinging, without agenda, it feels safe enough to approach. The universe, or whatever deeper intelligence organizes these experiences, has been preparing both of you for this moment. She needed to dismantle the inner obstacles that distorted her perception of intimacy. You needed to anchor into your own worth so that the connection could stand on equal footing. In that equilibrium, something sacred becomes possible. Now she feels the approach forming inside her. She may not have spoken a single word, but her energy is already moving toward you. Her dreams have become a meeting place where the truth speaks without censorship. Her waking life is filled with synchronicities she cannot explain away. Your presence visits her mind with increasing frequency, not as memory but as invitation. These are not coincidences. They are the psyche's natural response when a suppressed truth rises into consciousness. What once frightened her now feels unfinished, unresolved, calling her forward with a sense of purpose she cannot ignore. A subtle but profound shift is taking place. Her fear of depth is transforming into desire for it. Her instinct to run is turning into an instinct to reach out. This is not the erratic impulse of someone unstable, but the grounded certainty of a woman becoming honest with herself. She no longer confuses emotional intensity with danger. She no longer sees vulnerability as a loss of power. Instead, she recognizes that the parts of her she once hid are the parts through which authentic love can enter. And you, sensing this transformation from afar, feel that something in the energetic field is aligning. The tension that once gripped you has softened into a quieter anticipation. You have stopped rehearsing scenarios in your mind, stopped searching for signs in desperation. The clarity you feel is not rooted in expectation but in intuition. There is a difference. Expectation demands. Intuition knows, and what your intuition knows is that something essential is approaching, not because you chased it, but because you grew into the version of yourself capable of receiving it. Two journeys once running parallel are beginning to converge. She is stepping out of her internal labyrinth, and you are standing at the point of meeting with open hands rather than wounded need. The universe orchestrates such moments not through miracles but through inner transformations that make the outer meeting possible. What comes next is not a repetition of the past but the unfolding of a destiny that waited for both souls to be ready. There comes a moment in every soul's evolution when the force that once pushed a person away becomes the very force pulling them forward. She is standing at that threshold now, where the universe no longer permits avoidance, where the psyche refuses to tolerate its own fragmentation. What rises within her is not a sudden burst of courage, but the slow, inevitable reorientation of a woman who has finally stopped running from herself. A deeper clarity has begun to dawn. The truth she once tried to silence is the same truth she now feels compelled to live. The universe, or the unconscious, as Jung would name it, has been working in the recesses of her inner world in ways she could not consciously perceive. It has been dissolving the old blockages one by one with surgical precision. The first to fall was her fear of depth, the instinct to sabotage anything that felt too meaningful. She had always mistaken intensity for danger, intimacy for loss of autonomy, but now she sees that the real danger was in staying small, in diluting the very parts of herself that longed to be expressed. The emotional barricades she built to protect her heart transformed into walls that imprisoned it. When she realized this, something shifted. She began to understand that vulnerability is not a crack in the armor, but the doorway to a fuller life. The second blockage dissolving within her is the veil of logic that once covered her intuition. For years, she relied on reason to justify her withdrawal timing, practicality, distance, uncertainty. These rational narratives had comforted her, offering a sense of control over emotions that felt too vast to hold. Yet, in this new clarity, she recognizes that logic was never the real guide. It was a shield. Behind it lived a quiet, persistent knowing, a knowing that she felt more at home in your presence than anywhere else. Intuition had spoken in whispers, fear had shouted over it. Now the whispers have grown louder. Intuition is reclaiming its place as her inner compass. urging her to follow what feels true rather than what feels safe. The third blockage being dismantled concerns unconscious loyalties, old patterns inherited from family wounds, past relationships, and unhealed narratives about worth and love. She had been carrying burdens that were never hers to carry. Reenacting stories that belonged to generations before her, these karmic knots held her in a cycle of solitude, conflict, and self-protection. But the universe has intervened, illuminating these patterns, helping her cut ties with what no longer resonates. She is no longer willing to sacrifice authentic connection to maintain patterns rooted in fear. This liberation is essential, for only a woman freed from inherited wounds can step honestly toward the future she desires. What emerges through all this cleansing is not merely desire, it is readiness. She is contemplating the path back to you, not from desperation but from alignment. This is the movement of a woman becoming whole, the psyche integrating its shadow, the heart reclaiming its truth. She feels compelled to reach out because her soul has grown tired of pretending. The silence that once felt protective now feels suffocating. The distance that once felt necessary now feels unnatural. Her dreams echo this shift. In the quiet hours, when the conscious mind loosens its grip, the unconscious projects what remains unresolved. She dreams of conversations that never happened, apologies she never expressed, moments of connection that feel more real than memory. These nocturnal messages act as a cleansing ritual, dissolving the last remnants of denial. She wakes with her heart pounding, with a clarity she cannot ignore. What she refused to confront in waking life now finds her in sleep. Synchronicities follow her throughout the day. Songs that remind her of you seem to play precisely when she tries to distract herself. She sees your initials everywhere, sometimes on street signs, sometimes in unexpected places. People mention your name in conversations where it doesn't belong. She encounters familiar symbols, dates, locations, images connected to your story. These are not coincidences. They are the psyche's way of signaling that the unconscious is ready to bring the connection into the conscious realm. Such signs appear when the soul is preparing a reunion long before the mind agrees to it. As this inner awakening unfolds, your own energy becomes a stabilizing force. The calm you now feel is a sign that your psyche has integrated its own lessons. You no longer cling to outcomes, no longer fear the unknown. This emotional sovereignty makes space for the connection to mature rather than repeat old patterns. You are no longer the person who feared abandonment or sought validation. You have shifted from longing into becoming, and in this becoming, you emanate a kind of stillness, a stillness that her soul detects and gravitates toward. The feminine psyche, whether within a woman or within the archetypal field, seeks safety not in perfection but in presence. Your presence now feels like an open field rather than a battlefield. This is why she feels drawn back, why the fear that once held her tightly has begun to lose its grip. She senses in you a strength that does not overpower, an openness that does not demand. She senses maturity where there was once vulnerability, clarity where there was once confusion. And this shift within you becomes an invitation, not a plea, but a permission. The universe has prepared both of you for this moment, guiding your separate paths in ways that now converge with remarkable precision. She stands at the edge of a choice that is becoming less a decision and more a revelation. Her inner voice, once muffled by fear, now speaks with conviction. She knows she must act. She knows the silence must end. She knows the connection is unfinished, not because of longing, but because of destiny. The universe is aligning everything for the next movement, the one that transforms the invisible into the visible, the internal into action. There is a moment in every transformation when reflection turns into movement, when the psyche that has been quietly preparing finally demands expression in the physical world. She has entered that moment. The internal work is nearly complete. The illumination of wounds, the dissolving of defenses, the reunion with her own intuition. What remains now is the step that translates insight into embodied truth, and she feels it rising within her like a tide. The need to speak, to reach out, to reconcile the unfinished story that has lived between you like an open window, through which neither of you could fully close the curtains. Her soul is no longer aligned with silence. Silence once felt protective, but now it feels like a betrayal of her own awakening. She senses that if she continues to hold back, she will fracture the very progress she has made. Jung would say that the psyche rebels when a person resists individuation. The unconscious becomes restless, urging the individual toward what is authentic rather than what is habitual. This is exactly what she feels. Avoidance is no longer compatible with who she is becoming. She begins imagining conversations not with the anxiety of the past, but with a clarity that surprises her. She wants to explain what she could not articulate before, the fear she mistook for detachment, the confusion she disguised as indifference, the longing she buried beneath logic. She is not seeking to return to an old dynamic, she is seeking to arrive as someone transformed. This distinction is crucial. She does not want a repetition of what was, she wants a beginning worthy of who she is now. For the first time, she sees that healing is not something she must finish before she loves. Healing is something that happens through honest connection, and so she contemplates how to approach you not lightly, not impulsively, but with reverence for the depth of impact this connection has had on her psyche. She feels the weight of responsibility, not the burdened kind, but the sacred kind, the responsibility to speak truthfully, to enter the connection with open eyes and an open heart. What she desires now is not escape, but clarity. She wants to bridge the distance with honesty, to acknowledge the silence without shame, to let you into the hidden chambers of her heart, where fear once ruled unchallenged. She understands now that intimacy is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move through it, and that realization is the root of courage. Meanwhile, your own inner landscape has shifted into remarkable stability. You no longer carry the frantic need for resolution. You no longer stand at the door with your ear pressed against it, hoping to hear footsteps. You have learned that your worth is not tied to another's readiness. And this understanding has rewritten your energetic signature. Where once there may have been longing tinged with insecurity, there is now longing grounded in self-respect. You have become a clear field rather than an emotional storm. This transformation within you is the unspoken key that makes her return possible. In Jungian terms, you have integrated your own shadows, fear of abandonment, fear of invisibility, fear that love must be earned through suffering. In integrating these, you have stepped into your own inner sovereignty. Sovereignty is not distance, it is clarity. It is the ability to love without losing yourself, to open your heart without collapsing into it. Your energy now communicates a simple, powerful message. I am here, but I am whole. And that message is precisely what her awakening needs. She is not returning to someone who waits for her to fill an emptiness, but to someone who stands rooted in their own light. This is what transforms the dynamic from a wounded dance into a conscious union. As her readiness grows, the universe mirrors this shift through signs that feel almost orchestrated. Circumstances begin lining up. Thoughts of you appear precisely when she questions her next steps. Memories surface not to haunt her but to guide her. Dreams intensify, not in confusion but in clarity. She may wake with the sensation of having spoken to you, as if her psyche is rehearsing the truth it is preparing to express. There is a profound sense that both of you are being moved by a force larger than desire. The soul contract an archetypal bond. The psyche recognizes before the mind does is stirring. The self, in Jungian terms, is pulling both of you toward wholeness, toward integration, toward a meeting not defined by fear but by truth. She now realizes that the separation was not an ending but a rite of passage. You were the catalyst for her inner awakening, the mirror that reflected the parts of herself she had forgotten or avoided. And she, unintentionally, became the catalyst for your empowerment, the figure whose absence pushed you into the deep work of reclaiming your worth. The connection between you has always been reciprocal, even when disconnected on the surface. Now, the path ahead is revealing itself. She is no longer asking whether she should approach, she is asking how. The shift is subtle but monumental. The question is no longer one of doubt but of timing and expression. She contemplates the gesture that would honor the truth, the message that would finally open the door in a way that feels sincere, grounded, and aligned with the person she has become. She knows that what she brings must be more than apology. It must be presence. It must be truth. It must be the beginning of a new chapter, written with consciousness rather than fear. And the moment she reaches out will not be fragile or reversible. It will be decisive, like an arrow released from a bow guided by the hand of destiny itself. The universe has synchronized your timelines. Both of you stand on the edge of a moment that promises transformation rather than repetition. Her inner voice has shifted from uncertainty to determination. Your inner voice has shifted from longing to openness. Together, these shifts create the energetic doorway through which destiny can finally walk. As she stands on the brink of action, something profound stirs within her, the realization that turning toward you is not merely an emotional gesture, but a step toward her own individuation. Jung taught that a person becomes whole not by perfecting the persona or suppressing the shadow, but by integrating all the fragmented parts into a single, honest self. This connection, which once frightened her, has become the mirror through which she sees the truth of who she is and who she wishes to become. The choice before her is no longer about romance alone. It is about alignment with the deeper purpose her soul has been quietly urging her toward. This recognition transforms her from someone who once hesitated into someone guided by a sense of inner necessity. She feels that to remain silent would be to betray not you, but herself. Growth has made her accountable to her own heart. She no longer wishes to live half awake, repressing her deepest emotions for the comfort of predictability. She knows she must step forward, even at the risk of vulnerability, because the pain of withholding is now greater than the fear of revealing. This is how a woman steps into her power, not through fearless bravado, but through honest surrender to what her inner truth demands. Her contemplation of reaching out becomes more concrete. She thinks about the words she wants to use, not to justify the past, but to illuminate it. She wishes to acknowledge the fear that pushed her away, the patterns she inherited without choosing, the wounds she carried without understanding. She wishes to speak from the clarity she now possesses, offering not promises carved from insecurity, but intentions rooted in the maturity she has gained. This return is not a collapse into old emotions, but a conscious movement into a new emotional landscape. What she seeks now is connection without distortion. She desires to rebuild, not with haste, but with integrity. She wants to open a space where both of you can meet without masks, without projections, without the residue of old wounds clouding the present moment. She recognizes now that love cannot flourish where truth is absent, and so she prepares herself to come to you with the one thing she had never offered fully before: emotional honesty. The universe seems to support this readiness with impeccable timing. The energetic threads that once tangled now align. You may feel this shift long before she speaks. A certain quiet assurance fills your days, accompanied by subtle moments of déjà vu, an inner knowing that something is approaching. Your intuition, sharpened by your own growth, tells you that the story is not over, and unlike before, this knowing does not unsettle you, it strengthens you. Your inner transformation has prepared you for a kind of love you could not have held before. You are no longer waiting as someone who fears abandonment, but as someone who understands that emotional sovereignty is the foundation of true connection. You stand rooted in your worth, knowing that whether she returns or not, your life remains whole. This inner posture invites her without demanding her. It welcomes without clinging. It embodies the mature energy that love requires in order to thrive. This is precisely why the universe allows the reunion now. Two souls, once fragmented by fear, have grown into the versions of themselves capable of meeting in truth. You have learned to anchor into your own light. She has learned to stop dimming hers. The distance between you was not wasted time, it was the crucible in which both of you were reformed. Without that separation, you would not have arrived at this place of clarity. Without the silence, she would not have recognized the depth of her longing. Without the unanswered questions, you would not have stepped into your strength. She now feels the weight of destiny more clearly than ever. The connection no longer feels like confusion, it feels like purpose. She understands that the universe does not reopen closed doors unless something meaningful is meant to pass through them. This time, she approaches not as someone seeking emotional shelter, but as someone ready to build. She is prepared to speak truths she once lacked the courage to say. She is ready to name the feelings she once buried. She is willing to dismantle the distance with clarity rather than apology alone. Soon, this inner movement will become an outward gesture, a message, a call, a moment of honesty that cuts through all the years of hesitation. It will not be tentative, it will not be half-hearted. It will carry the unmistakable tone of someone who has faced her shadows and chosen to rise. This return will mark the beginning of a new destiny, not the return to an old story. It will be guided by consciousness, not fear, by intention, not desperation. The universe has chosen this moment because both paths have reached the maturity required to sustain what once slipped away. And when this reunion unfolds, it will not be delicate or uncertain. It will feel like recognition, an inner click, as if something ancient and long divided has finally reunited. It will feel stable where it once felt fragile. It will feel clear where it once felt confusing. It will feel like the unfolding of a cosmic agreement, written not in words, but in energy, in synchronicity, in the quiet certainty of two souls stepping into alignment. In the end, this is not merely a story about romantic fate. It is a story about individuation, the journey of becoming whole. It is about a woman reclaiming her truth and a counterpart reclaiming their worth. It is about two psyches evolving through separation into the readiness required for authentic union. The greatest lesson is this: love that aligns with the self does not break you, it refines you. It leads you back to the parts of yourself you once exiled. It teaches you that fear is not a barrier but an initiation, and that destiny moves not through miracles but through inner transformation. For those listening, may this story remind you that every period of silence is part of your initiation. Every heartbreak is an invitation to know yourself more deeply, and every authentic connection is a mirror reflecting the next step in your healing. If this narrative resonates with your journey, consider sharing your reflection below. Your story may be the guidance someone else needs. If you found meaning here, remember to like, share, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments.